May 2012, Western Myanmar. A Buddhist woman is raped and murdered. The authorities charge 3 Muslim men. A week later, 10 Muslims were murdered in a revenge attack. What happened next was hidden from the outside world. This is a story of a people fleeing the land where they were born, of a people deprived of citizenship in their homeland. It is the story of the Rohingya of Western Myanmar, whose very existence as a people is denied.
No Rohingya people in history. It is fabricated history, concocted history, just only fictitious history.
Some believe it is a deliberate attempt to end the Rohingya's existence as a people.
Denying their history, denying the legitimacy of their right to live where they live. These are all warning signs that mean that it's not frivolous to envisage the use of the term genocide.
For centuries, this region of Western Myanmar was known as Arakan. It was renamed Rakhine by the state's largest racial group. The Rakhine trace their identity to a complex of ancient Buddhist temples and monasteries at ROHINGYA. For nearly 4 centuries, it served as the capital of an independent Rakhine kingdom. It was from here that Buddhism first spread throughout Myanmar. Today, Rakhine State lies on Myanmar's western coast, and its northern tip borders Bangladesh. Around 1 million Buddhist Rakhine and 800,000 Muslim Rohingya live here. Britain invaded what was then called Burma in 1824. For half a century, it was governed as a province of British India. The colonial administration brought Muslims from what is now Bangladesh to work in Rakhine State. Many settled and were resented by the Buddhist majority. The Rakhine consider themselves a distinct race, separate from the majority Burmese. They call the Rohingya Bengalis and consider them illegal immigrants, even those whose forefathers settled here generations ago. Yunan Darbar Tar is a prominent monk in the state capital, Sitwe. He believes the Muslim Rohingya are not just a threat to the Rakhine, but to Myanmar's Buddhist identity. The Rohingya do not accept the naming of Rakhine State. They call it Arakan. They claim roots that go back centuries to early Muslim settlers in the region. For generations, the two communities have lived parallel lives. For half a century, Myanmar lived under various forms of military dictatorship. In 2010, Aung San Suu Kyi, the symbol of resistance to military rule, was released after nearly 2 decades of house arrest. She won a seat in Myanmar's parliament following free and open elections. But democracy has not brought universal freedom. In Rakhine State, it's unleashed a new patriotism. A Rakhine Nationalist Party became the largest in the state assembly. What happened in May 2012 sparked a chain of events that has scarred Myanmar's nascent democracy. Our story begins in a Buddhist town where Rohingya are rarely seen. The Myanmar state media reported that 3 Muslim men had entered a Rakhine neighborhood and raped and murdered a 27-year-old Buddhist woman. The short life of Ma Tida Tway was to ignite a tinderbox. On the next morning in the state capital, Sittwe, the Rakhine Nationalist Party was holding its inaugural conference. News of the rape spread through the hall. Delegates were outraged. Their party leader, Dr. A. Mong, claimed the assault had political overtones.
Government Damioga changing chickens, general Sonsan Diabari. To the kind data ganway, data, Mimi data, Mamani Nile, no Damio, or Pilo Jarul in Nalibari.
Graphic images of Ma Tida Tway's corpse circulated on the internet. Whispers spread amongst Rakhine that the rape was part of a Rohingya plot.
Ma Tida Tway Turuma, the Muslim de Majaka. Honino Yakai Lumuri Dojaga, the Ma Tida Tway stable Arabo. Daveme, the Muslim de Bangli Lumuri Majaka, a season Achivida.
"200 kilometers from Sittwe, near where the rape occurred, is Tongu, a town with a reputation for being fiercely anti-Muslim.
No Muslim, no Bengali living in that town. Because the town people, town folk, don't allow any Bengali to come in.
But on Sunday evening, a bus carrying 10 Muslim men did attempt to travel through Tongu. The bus was stopped by a mob of around 300 people. In the northern town of Mongdor, where over 90% of the population is Rohingya, there was foreboding when they heard the news. Nur Hakim sold clothes at a market stall.
So below yare, arhead that's a giagurifalai. Mongdu mother so big, divalai diria, computer to mani maria so biaga, supply with divalai. Musaman who majority the mani are hard as diki, tarver video CD by Rigorivala CD Masai, sonor for Ara Bishi Sintakurir, Abu Mogakan Arare, Aran Musalman or Ankan Gorod the Bulliere,
Do Magiara Taralla, Mashid Bashabishi Giagor, Hokomote Bisar Goribo, and Hoko Manushrei. Tayar Bisarian no.
It was the first Friday prayers since the murder of the pilgrims. The Rohingya planned to protest. The Rakhine ordered mosques to close. Hamid Jamil lived in a village just outside of Mongdor.
Juma Haiton Nodonozoria, Iman Safi, Toy, Moluke, Bagonzana, Divalai, Musulman Nalojogoy, Ehon, Juma Haiton no, de Henhonozoria, Bad, Manush, Musulman Bagunalogi.
Jolachia me, Apiano, Mauroma. Throughout Laujani Palitame, Paliga Sinana, ရခိုင်တွေကိုမင်းချိုးမယ်လို့အစီအမံရှိပြီးသားပဲ
Many imams ignored the government order to close mosques. Attending prayers at the Juma Mosque in Mongdor was Aman Mahmood.
এটা হচ্ছে আছে মগর দাসে গিয়া আছে কি আছে হিন্দু দাসে খুব বেশি মুসলমান দালা মারা শুরু করছে
After prayers, hundreds of Rohingya men gathered in the town centre and marched toward Arakan district. Hasina Siddiq watched from a house on Mongdor's main street. It's not clear whether these pictures were taken before the shooting or were a response to it. But sometime Friday afternoon, the anger of the Rohingya in Mongdor boiled over.
Faramaje asar baute asar sartabaze faramaje oynogi yakula agon difalai fura difalai rayir.
Dozens of Rakhine houses were targeted and set ablaze. But what happened next was not simply a clash between two ethnic groups. One side was armed with guns. By late afternoon, the policy of the security forces was to shoot to kill. The number of deaths is difficult to verify. Bodies were removed by the authorities. The violence soon spread from Mongdor. In a village about 20 kilometers away, Zahid Alam ran the only Rohingya-owned store in the market. He'd sent his son to get supplies in Sitwe and was alone in the shop.
পর আন্ধার হয়ে গেছে আন্ধার হওয়ার সঙ্গে সঙ্গে আর কিছু নাটালা আর কিছু মগ আমাদের দোকানের উপরে আক্রমণ চালাছিল আমি ওখান থেকে সিল্লাইয়া আমাকে মারবার জন্য কাটার জন্য এক দাও নিয়ে আমাকে দৌড়াইছে
শুক্রবারের রাতিয়া মানে রাতভর মানে উজর আসিল মানে মগ আইয়ের বলি হই উজর আসিল
মানুষ হজাক হইয়ারও দামালে লাড়িয়ে সুরাইয়ে বাদে শান্তিরিদের
Zahid Alam had taken refuge in a mosque near his shop. Then a platoon of border guards arrived. They are known by the Burmese acronym NASACA. The NASACA are a feared military detachment that was set up to control the Rohingya. They opened fire.
নাসাকারা রাতে 9:30 থেকে আসে 12টা পর্যন্ত গুলি চালাছিল 100 রাউন্ড পর্যন্ত গুলি চালাছিল তো অটোমেটিক হাতিয়ার নিয়ে গুলি চালাছিল অটোমেটিক হাতিয়ার নিয়ে গুলি চালাছিল আর লাশগুলো পড়ে গেছে মনে করেন যে কিছু রাস্তাত কিছু মসজিদের পাশে কিছু আছে এই দানের খেতে
The authorities began to detain large numbers of Rohingya men.
মানুষ ধরে লই যারগই যায় খরহট লই যারগই হন হব তো মানুষ সরিয়ে মানুষ তো লন্নাভা বেড়েন ধরে লই যারে জুলুমি করে
In the morning, Janat Ara was tending her crops.
शुक्रवार जुआ बांधे फाइंदी जुआ बीती हेड गुलुड़ी इतनी तो गुलुड़ो ना फारे फाइंदी से गुली फायर रहा पानी के दाई लोहा गिये आइंदा से दो अदरा बांधी राशिला लुंटिंग ला यार गोर गिद्दियार ठेलियार तरदार ठेलियार गोलियार और भाई दे Nisa nalama, whatever. Are those jagay hoi very. At the Doria Raga Latimage Latimari Vadona, Honori. I will show you bad or Twaidi at the hospital Madani Vadi.
According to medical records, Janat was raped by more than 20 men. By Friday night, news of the events in Mongdor spread to the state capital, Sittwe. Mohammed Islam, his wife Anwara, and their extended family were living in a village on the outskirts of town. As tensions rose, family members got together, including Mohammed's brother and his 12-year-old daughter, Minara.
শুক্রবারে লাইটার 9টা পর্যন্ত বাদ আছে আরা দোয়া করতে মসজিদের মধ্যে গেলি গই বাদে 11:30 বাজে 12টা বাজে আছে মগদা আছে মসজিদের মধ্যে তোরা কি করো দৌলি হয়ে আইয়ার আছে পৌঁছে গই
The Arakan say Rohingya men were congregating in order to confront them.
ညကြရင်ဒီကလာတွေကအုပ်စုလိုက်ဖွေးပြီးတက်လာတာထောင်နဲ့တောင်းနဲ့ရှိတက်လာတာဒါပေမဲ့သူတို့ဘာသာနဲ့စကားနဲ့ဝါတာပေါ့ရခိုင်တွေအကုန်လုံးရိုက်ချိုးမိန်ချိုးရခိုင်တွေအကုန်လုံးသက်ဒီနိုင်ငံဒီမွတ်စလင်နိုင်ငံပဲပါကစ္စတန်နဲ့ဘင်္ဂလားဒေ့ရှ်နိုင်ငံပဲအဲ့လိုကြီးညာတာပေါ့ဒါပေမဲ့ရခိုင်တွေကလည်းပောက်ကွေးပြီးရင်အဲ့ဒါ
During the night, a firestorm swept through the township.
Magalang badola sana शहर तैसे दिन है पेट्रोल बोतल ये घर में 10 करोड़ तो फाया बंदे बाद गुलिया से गुलिया बाद नदर लेंगे पेट्रोल बोतल गंगो सालवार अंगर माला दी बाद तुरा को किधर तुरा हना अंगर माला दी फैले बुगुरी बू मौसम में देखो तो 10 करोड़ वाला तमारे
By 8 a.m., Mohammed Islam and local Rohingya men had spent the night in a tense standoff with a group of Arakan. Then Nasaka border guards arrived.
Most bida the most of the sashalote womanus. Sashalote bada se mania sali kurisali jumurigi arguni ligidia. Most of the uture zemaniki morigi goy. Itera das a molosha begumolo mojudin. In das a itera Muslim bar niligi molo in the most of the nonili. Itera die most of the cinema there as a man in Banadama there as a itera direct Ataka Guliguji. तुरा माने जैसे इन थोड़ा गौरव होते हैं होय इधर डायरेक्ट गुली कर इधर नाता के इधर गुली होती है अगर गुली होती है
Mohammed's niece Minara was with her cousins. In the chaos, they couldn't find their parents.
सा जीवनी न रहे अते इतारा घर फाला केंगुर जाय मुले बाद बोते केने त एड मगर घर फुरा ता शेवार इतारा तुम गुरा गुरा नले मगर फुरा ता शेवार जाजारिला ते तो या आरा तो मामे आमा दे बा तो आने भाई तो आरा दूर दूर तो जिगा इतारा दा टेंशन मारे तो बाद आसा जीवन तारा इन बेगिन बोते केने हांदे हांदे तो बाद एड मगर फुरा ता शेवार तो आसा जीवन ने सांसार बंदर सांसार इन ए फांस जनर ले बाद मामा माला तार के सुनो गरी कैसे मगर मारी आरा बड़ा बड़ा तुम बोले मगर मारे ना मैं तने क्या आरा मगर का आरा तुम तो ज्यादा रिंदिला से मन मारे
आरा फारल बाजे बोला कंदियं गोरा से दिया ए दुर्मा से बादे आरा फारना करे बोला आई कब तो गुंडा फुरा दिन नदी बोला तो गोर तागी ताजा की गए बाद तो गोर फुरा दे बोला आई जर मौका कुत्ते भरा गए शहर ते गाड़ी को ताजा गए
Meanwhile, Anwara's husband Mohammed Islam had fled the massacre in the mosque.
दे तुम्हें गांसा गए तुम्हें गुली करो बद्दा यार दुआ मरंग होते फारे अम्मा दुआ मरंग होते फारे अम्मा यार आरा बुगुन ओजी की बार दुआ मरंग होते फारे आंता तुम्हें ओजी के बाद गांसा गए दाते एत्तु यार ने मानो दाते 210 साल होते वो मुसलमान 210 साल होते तुम्हारे फार बाहर दाते तुम्हें इतनी ये और बिकेम गुली मारे और बिकेम आते बाद आती के मुसलमान मांझर का मैं पूरे गुमार बार ए दुर्मा मारे कुरी तुरी जो मोर जाएगा मांझर होता आरा मोर जाए बोले हाँ बाद आरा मारे 210 मन एक्शन मोर जाए उधर इधर आता आरा
Anwara was with her 3 brothers as the flames advanced on their house.
होला दुबई फाती की अब्बा गोर ताजिया दुबई के फाती के दिन ती बोला माको गए टूर गने ले क्या ngoti Dodge the Mogo Asha Janasa, about since I had it. Lani done for a marite.
Dojumbu. Doriba, Itara, Doju, Manchester Mori, Dushan, Sasha to Mori, Manus at two, Itara, Doju, Doriba, Itara, Maricale. Nasa, Saifazon, Fason doesn't Maricale. Itara, money fast bash for Juntamana, bash fast bash for the Cago Duri. Duru the matter and Missile to Majogi, Edruma, Duri, the Guliduri.
Anwara's mother and 2 remaining brothers were now back at their house. The youngest then insisted on going out to fight.
Sharat will follow Gulimaja, Gulliver Kangri, Vegeta Moko Duamaji. Either the hum basically Gulimaja, I mock Mario more than either of Kotamari, inside Jonah, Darhanda, Gurgali. Utawala but the Shino and I buy a Arakan Maricale, and how I did game on the Gulimari Valley. I caught a Gulimari, there were in the I caught a Gulimari in Tinala, Dama, Tepoligiama.
Maricale doesn't do the Anta are the Armata Gary Duanle the actual Teshigari. Gary Duanle the actual Teshi. I was Guligur, Moge Mare, Guli Mare, was much as I my Duamar Billy Mother Low, Duluti, Manus, Mora.
Sittwe is a scarred town. Most Rohingya, who once made up half the population, are no longer here. Thousands of homes were destroyed. While the overwhelming majority were Rohingya, many Rakhine were also made homeless. Rakhine nationalists claim the Rohingya were responsible not only for burning Rakhine houses, but also for destroying their own districts.
Going go Michoy. Kalainiga, Macambole, a suburb de Miarago. Air in the Micho Lazaroka, Yaka Injidi Pado.
In Mongdor, the clampdown after the Rohingya rioting was brutal. Janat Ara saw Rakhine civilians join the security forces on a rampage.
Gorfuradi Felaye, Duanakal Furadi Felaye. The Duanor Malakol, Ludguri Helaye, Vishi Malakal. Takavada Gura Huinakal, Gura Miala Huinakal. The Laguli Mary Helate Diki. In Gomanu Janadana, Rare Beco had a full of Tolebecum, Falastic Hala Falastic, Berra Drama full of Tolo, full of Madagara.
Nur Hakim had gone into hiding.
شما گندات معنی خبرستان فعالیت خبرستان و زالات فعالیت کی مرابطه فعالیت کی بودات فعالیت کی.
He took refuge in an empty house. It overlooked a bridge, and from there he could see a small outpost manned by security forces.
दूसरा जनता के दिन दिक्कत kan कैंपो आसे माने से कुछ दिक्कत यानी बिरिसर हालियान.
Over the next 3 days, he observed the outpost, too afraid to flee.
Garetu tara military ko le looting le military le lamade ani dosso ke dikki mogori for attar for dikki di ede indika go light jalai de ede garitun indika halar hasalo birison nise dase indika lasho ko lenguri tara dori gari rotin mala mari hede der hede nise asho dojana se hine tenge nguri der indika dikki tara soke dikki
কতজন কয়টা লাশ হবো
লাশ মানে শতখান হাসিবে বেড়ে লাশ
By late afternoon, several members of the Islam family had fled to the coastal village of Bogadia, just outside Sittwe. Mohammed told his niece that they should leave for Bangladesh.
Taban ara doja sora ta bad bote kine ta bad na san ta gwashi ara daka bala jagale begina hargala margala tara kar jatiga inde horta amama da na jayu inda ta heda ma tuina dikada ta ebarda no habara hargala ide utara jana da ide ta mam shavi kar da ida harla minna da ida no ma pura divala inda himer mama tara luta de.
It was in the coastal village of Bogadia that Anwara finally found her husband.
तारा का जिधर मर गया वो था जो उधर लारा गिल्ले रे ना मरे अल्लाह रहमत कुछ दूर दूर तो बुढ़ टूटे गए लोग देखी माता शाह हो गए थे दाबाई तो घर ना घर
माने जैसे आर भाई मर गए दूजन उन्नी बाद आर हो दे हालात दो तीन जन मर गए बाद आर मौत हुआ एक मर गए कोई दो तीन जन बाद ऐसे एक दुर्मा दे इतना होड़ा ताला कुछ इधर दुर्मा दे इतना होड़ा आर बेड़ी फोन होड़ा ताला गोरी से दे इतना की मर गए नहीं कि बाशिया ताला गोरी से दे जैसे फारडा कर लोगों में ताला गोरी फुसर लौटा ही है फुसर गोरी से दे इतना होड़ा बहुत डेस औरत गई कोई
कला का लेना भी ठोबे डाले साले चीज़ तज़ीन सीना नहीं भी फोनी रो या खाने का तो रोगो या थे माने भी साले चीज़ ना नहीं भी नॉन लाइलो में आऊला दाजो कला रे कौन थे माँ भी दामे या खाने का इलो में थे बाहु
Hamid Jamil had remained in his house since Friday. Then a unit of Nasaka border guards arrived at his door.
Dinor dutar fore are gottu bade talasine gulo hoyer petrol lasine gulo hoyer maiki petrol kuji petrol aja tomai dino fari bade are matai are gor uran man lamai gottu matai are bade bodu hor ayara bon hor filan maji batu ko maji na sakar kanthi maji lo jai
After begging for his life, he was thrown into an open yard. Nearby in Mongdor, Janat Ara was forced to leave the town's hospital due to the unrest. Relatives told her to flee to a better-equipped facility across the border.
Hospital gola yare du dir rekil. To di dinor hore de lunting okolo de yamala de rar moge. To hintulu yare se arba in ekana guchi intun no lo yare. Barguri yare de hachwazar.
Myanmar and Bangladesh are separated at their southernmost border by the Naf River. The headquarters of the Arakan border forces, the Nasaka, lies on its banks. Within a month, thousands of refugees crossed here, mostly during the night. The refugees bribed the Nasaka border guards, who are then prepared to allow the Rohingya to flee to Bangladesh. People smugglers ensure they avoid Bangladesh border guards. The Islam family had not paid smugglers and faced the perils of the sea. They reached the Bangladeshi coastal village of Jazeera, but border guards caught them.
Arakan lami baade hade era he bogum boagarai fane durma boagarai baade ba to arar hade era hanaite hoye shalar parma hade hoye abbar hode budu tulri moi
aba dura di baade arada zinjira abar ki zinjira te da ta zinjira fuz gara da ta arada se abar ikke dura di ikke te da ara ikke shwa ta bidiya da abar ikke dura di elle da 3 din পর্যন্ত ara 4 din পর্যন্ত ara do jama bashi.
In Rakhine State, a curfew was imposed, and the security forces began the arbitrary detention of young Rohingya men. Aman Mahmood was in bed when paramilitaries burst into his room.
ফিসাদ বানিয়ে খুব বেশি মাঝহীন ঘরের ভিতরে আর ঘরের স্ত্রী দুয়া ঘুরে ঘুরে বাসে আছে ফুয়ানির হাঁদের বাদে খুব বেশি মারাধারা করি আবার বারে নিয়ে আলাই এর মাঝে এটা সাইড ফইলে না জমিটা জি সাইড দিয়ে আবার 8-9 পর্যন্ত আমার ঘরে ডাকত তো মানুষ সকল নিয়ে আলাইও দিই
Zahid Alam and his family were at home trying to contact their son, who'd been to Sitwe to pick up supplies for the family shop. A friend then telephoned. He'd had word from Zahid's son.
আমার বাবাকে বললা দেন আমরা যে গ্রামে আছি সব জায়গা থেকে মগে ঘেরে ফেলেছে সব জায়গার একদম ঘেরা আগুন ধরাইছে আমরা কি 1 ঘন্টা থাকি নাকি আধা ঘন্টা থাকি 5 মিনিট থাকি আমাদের কোনো কিছু বিশ্বাস নাই আমাদের আব্বাকে আমাদের মাফ করে দিতে বলেন আমার জন্য দোয়া করতে বলেন
Aman Mahmoud had spent the night in a police cell in Mongdor.
তে বেশি মাইরক কল আরসিনা আছে দরি মতর গো গুড়ি রঙের কুল ফুন্দার গো বাড়ি মধ্যে না তুসিনা ওলা পুরো দিল বেশি ইয়া না তো বেশি বেশি আত্মিতি বেশি লাগে সিনা না না তুই ওলা পুরো দিল বেশি গুড়ি ফুন্দালের মধ্যে দরি মতর মধ্যে হারি বিয়া ইজারা তো কোনো কিছু মারা মারাল্লা নাই তো আরারে মারি কোন দিলটা জুলুম গজে গলে কি মারি আল্লাহ বাসে কি না জানে
Hamid Jamil was still recovering from his injuries and staying with friends in a village near his home, but it offered no sanctuary. On Monday afternoon, Nasaka border guards and police arrived.
তোমার ফারাজে তোমার গিরি ফেলাইয়ে হুকুমতে ফারা গিরি ফেলাইয়ার বাদে ফারার ডন মানুষ কল লেটার কল ধরে ফেলে বড় বড় লোক ধরে ফেলাই ধরে ফেলানোর জরিয়া বাদে সুন্দর সাড়া ছিল হিতারে দড়ি বলে তারি তারা দুজে বাদে গুলি চালাইয়ে হুকুমতে
Villagers fled toward a nearby creek.
খালফারাইছে আর বাদে গোড়া বাচ্চা কল বাফর ফিসে দুজে কেসু গুলি খাইয়ে কেসু খালাম্মা জাম্মারি আর করে ফারাইয়ে গোড়া বাচ্চা কলে বেকন খালাম্মা যে 20-25 জন পর্যন্ত তারা খালাম্মায় মরে গিয়ে গুলি খাইয়ে দেখি ইন্ডিয়া আছে মরি আরো পাশে আরো উড়ে গিয়ে থই তার বাসে রাতিয়া মগরিবার আগতো যে তোমার মিলিটারি যে তোমার যে সাহারি আর যে তোমার ফুকর পাশে স্কুলত মারি গিয়ে থই বাদে মরা খালতো তুয়াই আর মরা মাসে জাল টানি আর ডুবিরে দেখি জাল টানি আর ঠেলা জাল সদুন আছে
Aman Mahmoud would soon be released after family members paid a bribe. Others were less fortunate.
কারাতের ভিতরে 6 জন মানুষ মুর্দা সব গরি মানি এডে মারি মরা নিয়ে আলাইয়ে তো মুর্দা নিয়ে আলাইয়ে হিন হড়ে নিয়ে গই তারা মুর্দারে নিয়ে আলাইয়ে তারা আছে সাড়া ফাড়ার মধ্যে ইংরেজ হাজার দুজনে দুটা উত্তর ধরে নিয়ে আলাইয়ে হঁকে নিয়ে হই না পারি আড্ডি বাংলা প্রায় তারা এম মাঝে দে এর মাথা ফাড়াই আছে মাথা ফাড়াই দেখি খুব বেশি মারা ধরা দেখি
Hamid Jamil had witnessed the death of 35 people. They were buried secretly at night.
নিজে বাজে খবরস্থান মাই নিজে গিয়ে নিজে যাই আরো বাদ এখনো আর এখানে গুছি এখনো হেড এখনো মারা গেছে নে বলি আর নিজে গিয়ে গো নিজে যাই আর সাইড দিয়ে এখানে গুছি ন পরে নিজের বন্ধু বান্ধব মানুষ তারা মারা গেছে মারা যাই আর মানুষ এক গাঁতর মাঝে গাঁত করি আর মানুষ ব্যাগুন তখন নিজে বাজে আসছিলাম
We cannot independently verify everything the Rohingya refugees told Al Jazeera. We were unable to work freely or enter parts of Rakhine State, but their testimony is detailed and compelling. After the violence in June, many of those who didn't flee abroad are now in camps on the outskirts of Sitwe. Their movement is restricted. They have become refugees in their own country. In this village north of Sitwe, Rohingya must not go beyond the nearby road. Men are not allowed to work in fields or women shop in the markets. In Sittwe, only one enclave remained for Rohingya, called Ongmingala. They are fenced in and cannot leave. They too cannot work or buy food. Their future is uncertain. Ong Win, like most here, was born and brought up in Sittwe.
We are the native of this country, you know. We're not the migrated people from Bangladesh.
Where can you go?
No, I do not want to. I will die here, ready to die. We are the people.
Rakhine nationalists dispute the Rohingya's claims of abuse. They have another explanation as to why so many thousands have left their homes and possessions and fled to camps. There is a common belief amongst the Rakhine that the outside world has been tricked by Rohingya refugees. Rakhine nationalists claim the Rohingya have concocted a massive deception in order to discredit the Rakhine and ultimately seize power. The views of the Rakhine have been shaped by generations of conflict between the two groups. But in the late 1980s, the government began a project of institutional discrimination, following demands made by Rakhine nationalists. In a secret memorandum written in 1988 and obtained by Al Jazeera, Rakhine nationalists drew up detailed plans to undermine the ability of the Rohingya to live in Myanmar. It included restricting their movement, limiting educational opportunities. It also tried to control their birth rate.
মনে করেন জন্ম দিছি জন্ম দেওয়ার সাথে সাথে টাকা 10-15,000 টাকা দিতে হয়
অগমাইয়া বুয়া যদি হরো দেয়া পরে দরখাস্ত দেয়া পরে দরখাস্ত হুয়াতি টিয়া 6000 টিয়া দেয়া পরে 6000 টিয়া দি ফার দেহিতে দের দিন অফার দেহিতে সুরখা যদি নাকা যদি গললে বাদ হিতারারে হুকুমত জিয়ল করে জিয়ল 5 বছর জিয়ল করে
Myanmar's military government then sealed off 2 northern townships where about 90% of the population is Rohingya. For nearly 2 decades, this area has been cut off from the outside world.
In that letter, it is clearly mentioned the people in Maundo districts, they are illegal intruder. They said since they are neither citizens nor ethnic people of Myanmar, therefore their travel should be restricted.
3 months after the rioting, Al Jazeera arranged for a concealed camera to be taken into Mongdor Township. The streets are quiet. Schools remain shut. Mosques were closed. Under an emergency law, no more than 5 people are allowed to congregate, even to pray. One imam was ordered to lock his compound. Yu Shui Mong had just visited his constituency of Butidong.
People are full of fear. So I asked why you have fear. So almost all people answer to me. So they don't know when they will be arrested by the police. Anytime police can arrest. They said when houses are burning, when the Muslims come out, they say police shot them.
Ong Win believes the crisis has been triggered by the Rakhine Nationalist Party, the RNDP, and their leader, Dr. Among.
He is the only one person who, because he is the leader of the RNDP party, you know, he called all other RNDP party members from Tango, Pungnaju, and Rau. They all gathered here and started killing.
Do you think he's responsible for the killing?
Yes, he's the only one person for killing us Rohingya people. I can challenge him in front, face to face. I can prove him. Then I'm not lying the wall. You will take my picture and my interview to show the wall. I'm not lying the wall.
In July, Dr. Among and the RNDP released a statement demanding that Bengali people should be relocated to suitable places in order not to reside or mix with Rakhines.
ကျွန်တော်တို့ရဲ့ဒေသတည်မြဲဖို့အတွက်ကျွန်တော်တို့ရခိုင်မျိုးနွယ်စုအကုန်လုံးရဲ့ယင်ထင်မှာရှိပါတယ်။မိသည့်မျိုးနွယ်စုကိုမှကျွန်တော်တို့ကတက်ခိုက်လို့စိတ်ခုနလိုရန်လိုမုန်းတီးစိတ်လည်းမရှိပါဘူး။ကိုယ့်မြေကိုယ့်ဒေသဒေသခိုင်မြဲပြီးကမှနော်ကိုတို့ရဲ့တာဝန်တစ်ခုသမိုင်းမှာတွင်ကြံဖို့ပဲစူးစမ်းနေတာပါ။အဲ့တော့ပြည်ပကနီးမျိုးစုံနဲ့ကျွန်တော်တို့ရဲ့ဒီမိမိဒေသကိုမိမိနော်ရက်တည်မှုရှိအောင်နော်စူးစမ်းနေကြတဲ့အခြေအနေမှာဟိုနီးမျိုးစုံနဲ့သတင်းထုတ်လွှင့်တာရှိပါတယ်။ဒါကလည်းပဲပြန်တွက်ကြည့်ရင်လေခုနလိုဖန်တီးတဲ့လူတွေအပေါ်မှာပဲတည်ပါလိမ့်မယ်
When I interviewed with the people in Sitwe, in Maundo, they told me, they said, these all conflicts are led by these RNDP party members. So when everybody are saying like that, so that could be true.
The Myanmar government has set up a commission of inquiry to examine the cause of the violence in June. There are no Rohingya representatives, but one of the investigators is Dr. Among. As the country opens to the outside world after decades of isolation, the icon of Myanmar's democracy, Aung San Suu Kyi, has refused to support the right of the Rohingya to citizenship and has remained quiet about their plight. Myanmar is a union of more than 100 ethnic groups. 3 decades ago, a law restricted citizenship to groups that lived here before the British invasion. That excluded the Rohingya, whose ancestors mostly arrived during colonial rule. At a conference in the capital Yangon, delegates met to discuss what it means to be a citizen of newly democratic Myanmar. Dr. A. Chan is a Rakhine historian and democracy activist who was forced into exile by the military junta.
That's our ancestral land. We cannot share that land, you know, for an alien immigrants. I am not anti-Islam or anti-Muslim, but people are afraid now. The country or state has responsibility to protect Buddhism and the welfare of the people.
As Rakhine nationalism grew bolder, a body of literature emerged that tried to deny the existence of the Rohingya as an ethnic group. Dr. A. Chan described the migration of ancestors of the Rohingya to Rakhine state as a virus. Professor William Shabas is one of the foremost legal experts on genocide.
Rather occasionally, fortunately so, we encounter situations where actually the persecution goes beyond simply racist oppression, but is aimed at the extermination of the group. The destruction is the word that's used in Article 2 of the Genocide Convention. So what you're looking for is not simply that the acts themselves, such as killing, were carried out intentionally, which is not usually very difficult to establish, but that they were also carried out with a special or specific intent, which was to destroy the group.
There are 400,000 Rohingya languishing in Bangladesh. For more than 3 decades, waves of refugees have fled Myanmar. They receive little aid, and only a small number are officially recognized as refugees by Bangladesh. For decades, human rights groups have chronicled abuses committed by the regime in Myanmar. But Al Jazeera's investigation suggests that the treatment of the Rohingya could extend to the most serious crime under international law: genocide.
I'm always cautious about sort of cavalier use of the term, because it does suffer from a great deal of rather extravagant use of the term, precisely because of its potential as a word to get people's attention. But I don't think that there's much difficulty in asserting that in the case of the Rohingya, that we're moving into a zone where the word can be used. When you see measures preventing births, trying to deny the identity of a people, hoping to see that they really are eventually, that they no longer exist, denying their history, denying the legitimacy of their right to live where they live. These are all warning signs that mean that it's not frivolous to envisage the use of the term genocide.
So what do you do with the people? 800,000, maybe more. What do you do with them?
It's a very difficult question. It's a very delicate problem. I know everybody has human rights. Human rights is there. They must have human rights. But sometimes we have to realize that the Constitution and national sovereignty sometimes clash with human rights.
In late 2012, US President Barack Obama traveled to Myanmar to meet his counterpart Thein Sein. Following reforms and the release of political prisoners, Myanmar has been praised for its newfound respect for human rights. It has been largely overlooked that President Thein Sein considers most Rohingya illegal immigrants who should be deported. It took 4 days on the open sea for Mohammed Islam and his family to reach Bangladesh. They found sanctuary, but left behind their homes, livelihood, and loved ones. The Bangladesh government considers the Rohingya illegal immigrants, as does the government of Myanmar. They have no legal rights and nowhere to go. Minara's father is losing hope. Janat Ara's friends had raised enough money to send her to Bangladesh. She was taken to Chittagong, the country's second city. As a result of her rape, she contracted kidney disease and aborted a pregnancy.
Zina chining bisigi niara ere dabai shud gori ta hum point liara kengo chundu.
Zahid Alam's family never found his son's body.
Abi kare Bangladesh aslam abar pashta bhaiya abi ekjon sale 6 বছর আবার বয়স হয়ে গেছে আমি তো অনেক সুখী সংসার ভালো করে বেচা কিনা করে দোকান করে খাইতাম মানুষ। আমি এখানে জঙ্গলে বসে 4-5টা মেয়ালে আমি কীভাবে চলবো, আমার কী উপায় হবে, এটা তো আমি চিন্তা করছি। আমার মতন অনেক রোহিঙ্গা আমাদের মতো কষ্টতে আছে।